It was a huge weekend on the calendar for gardeners. Labour weekend, of course, the best time to put those tomatoes in and gear up for a summer of never-ending goodness. Fliss Roberts from Plant Me, she knows what I'm talking about. Her startup's all about getting people to grow their own vegetables with sustainability and the environment front of mind. She joins us now live. Kia ora, Fliss. People call me an old man for my gardening, but when I come round with the basil pesto, they know what's up. Am I right?
You are so right, Chris, and I heard on the grapevine that you're a pretty avid gardener, so thanks so much for inviting me to have a chat with you this morning.
The grapevine is certainly where you would have heard that. I don't have any growing at the moment. Why do you reckon young people should get into gardening? Because it often has been the domain or the perceived domain of our older generation.
Yeah, but there's so much joy to be had in picking free food straight from your mother. And that's something that young people, as equally as old people, should get involved with. I think we're all really aware of the supermarket queue and perhaps it not being our favourite place to go. And growing your own food at home is really easy and just enables you to pick what you need direct from the garden. So limits your food waste and limits what you're spending.
What about over the last few months? Do you find that a lot more people are getting into it just because they've been thrust into this lockdown situation in some places and they sort of think, you know, might as well start a hobby or try my hand at something like that?
Absolutely. I think with a lot of time at home, people are maybe looking outside and things that they can do outside. Gardening's brilliant for well-being. They've done studies on actually limiting anxiety, reducing depression. So it's a really, really great way to spend those lockdown hours. And you get the benefit of some lovely kai at the end of it as well. So, yeah.
And then this is
Definitely
the perfect time to start your garden, right? This time of the year, just coming out of spring into summer. What would be your advice to people that haven't maybe had a garden of their own before?
Start with what you like to eat. It is the perfect time. So most things that you plant now are going to race along with all this lovely light and it being spring and moving into summer. So yeah, start with the things that you like and easy things to grow, things like leafy greens. They're cut and come again. So you can just keep harvesting them from the garden with really minimal effort. Yeah.
And it's great, right? Because things like coriander, for instance, if you're going to go pay for it at the supermarket, it's so expensive. But if you can just take a little bit from the garden, you know, you sort of cut out having to go through all of that.
Yeah, herbs are brilliant, and you're right, they're so expensive, and for such a small amount as well. They're also brilliant for our pollinators and our biodiversity. Yeah, everything flowering, that diversity in the garden just helps the ecosystem. And yeah, again, it makes those meals at home, just takes them to the next level.
This is where I tee a nice softball up for you to knock out the park and plug Plant Me. Obviously, people can go online and go to some of the garden stores and that kind of thing, but what do you guys offer? And what do you have for people that might be wanting to get into a bit of gardening?
We have developed a peer-to-peer marketplace. So one of the problems I have as an avid gardener is I often end up being really enthusiastic about my seed planting. And as an example, I now probably have about 70 different tomato plants that I don't have the space to grow. And so what we've created is really the ability for anyone to get growing or to collect seeds, whether they're natives or vegetables and fruits, and trade them on the platform. We've got digital growing guides, which make it super easy and take you step by step, whether you're planting from seed or seedling, all the way through to harvest and seed collection. And then we've got a digital planting diary, which enables you to keep logs and track your progress. So recording things like when you watered, when you last fed your plants. And then what we really want New Zealanders to do is to please log your harvest weights, because then we're able to calculate biodiversity impact that you've had and also emissions reductions achieved through growing your own vegetables at home.
I mean, that's a bit next level, isn't it? When I'm out there tending to my basil bush, I'm not really thinking about sustainability and the environment, but you guys are sort of looking into that as well, aren't you?
Yeah, the driver for this really came about from my own climate anxiety and wanting to take meaningful action. I played with Bitcoin for a little while and watched the price skyrocket and just thought, wow, this is imaginary value. What if we could use this technology to apply it to something really meaningful and kind of incentivize the changes that we need people to make? So yeah, we're working at the moment on developing those calculations and implementing a carbon neutral blockchain to try and reward people for what they grow, because it is really meaningful. A Californian study showed that it's possible to reduce through backyard gardens emissions by 7.8%, which is absolutely huge. And also, obviously, kind of future-proofs our communities and makes them really resilient and full of abundance. And that's what we're really aiming to support.
Fliss Roberts, it was my pleasure to be able to talk about gardening with you today. I'm sure there'll be plenty of viewers out there as well that are keen to hear a bit about that. So thank you so much. Fliss Roberts from Plant Me, thanks for joining us this morning.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Making news this morning, Facebook is shutting down its face recognition system and deleting the face print